Hello and welcome to Straight Talk, Supply Chain Insights, the podcast for your supply chain leader who is on the go and wants to be in the know. And now, your host, Laura Ciceri.
Welcome to the Digital Showcase. Today, it gives me great pleasure to talk to Shan from UCBOS. UCBOS is working on interoperability and a unified data model, which is so critical because I find companies have more than 200 different applications that they don't know how to put together. So Shan, welcome to the program, and start out, tell the group a little bit about yourself.
Good morning, Laura. Thanks for having me. It's a great pleasure to always come back and talk to you about supply chain. I'm looking forward to the conference this year as well. This is Shan Muthuvelu, CEO, UCBOS. UCBOS is world's first 100% no-code supply chain platform, which brings supply chain visibility, execution, and orchestration capabilities to a large enterprise.
So when you think about 2030, how important do you think no-code platforms are in that journey for supply chain leaders?
I'm glad you're already, you're always thinking ahead, Laura. So, it's the last time we spoke about 2020, it looks like, we have to be ready for 2030, right? What we learned in the last 2-3 years is, COVID-like disruptions are going to happen. And even like, the inflation, the war, and so many supply chain disruptions are happening. So for 2030, the enterprises can not only succeed, they have to sustain and succeed. And for that to happen, they need to have a collaborative supply chain capabilities and an adaptive technology platform. Only then, right, they can, sustain, the continuous disruptions they are going to get into and how they can come out of it.
Well, no offense, Shan, but what you're saying sounds like everybody else, but you've got some unique capabilities, right, that other people don't have. So let's kind of dissect. What does no code mean to the people that are listening? They're like, no code? Well, how can I run supply chain without any code? Tell the group a little bit about what that means.
What that means, great. So this is just, it is not that we wanted to invent something in no code. It's just the byproduct of the speed and agility that we wanted. So we wanted the platform to be a collaborative supply chain platform, not just for your own supply chain data and capabilities and processes. It has to be connecting your supplier's supply chain, their supplier's supply chain, your partners, even some of your competitors' supply chain together. That means you need to bring all supply chain data, then also market signals and all the variabilities into a single platform. If you have to bring all these things into a single platform and interoperate between multiple complex supply chains, then it cannot be coded and developed and maintained, right? That you're not going to have the time, energy, and resources for that. So what we got was, if it has to be faster for this complex world, it has to be metadata and it has to be no code. So no code is just a byproduct of what we wanted to come up with a platform which can produce outcomes faster. So the beauty is, it is not generating code. That means you don't have to break your head over, hiring developers, maintaining that code, and testing and deploying that code. It's just the byproduct.
So it's a byproduct in a SQL approach, correct?
Yes.
The other thing that I think is really important around your concept is the difference between integration and interoperability. So many times companies will say to me they want the integrated supply chain, and I'm like, do you really? It's so brittle, right? Mm-hmm. So when we interoperate versus integrate, tell the group a little bit about that and how you help.
Definitely, right? Yes. So the integration, even if you have the latest, cloud-based integration platforms, they can only transform the data without even applying your business rules. It is just data manipulations, right? Then that data either gets into a data warehouse or a data lake, or maybe even getting into your ERPs and other supply chain systems. But that's not going to make enterprises, interoperate between their supply chain and between their suppliers and partner supply chain, right? They truly need an orchestration between the supply chain capabilities of even their partners and suppliers and others, right? For that to happen, just integrating between those data is not good enough. You need to interoperate. That means you are making a decision for your supplier for a better delivery process in terms of purchase orders and procurement delivery. Maybe you are making a better decision for your partner for the last mile delivery. So these type of collaborative, better alternate decision making is what we call as interoperability, right? For that to happen, just passing data back and forth between various systems is not going to give the capabilities. You can only manipulate maybe a data, right? Clean up the data, convert A to B, right? Maybe add an extra decimal, right? And just add a string to it. That's all you can do. But we're not talking about just data manipulations, right? We are talking about supply chain capabilities and orchestrations, and that interoperability is key.
When I think about the difference between integration and interoperability, I think about semantics, and I think about an active semantic layer, and the fact that when we integrate, we're just passing data with known definitions from API to API. And in the supply chain, the semantics change so much. And would you agree with that, or is there more to it?
Oh, definitely. Currently, the traditional systems, I would not even say traditional, even the latest cloud systems have zero semantics, right? And since they don't have that semantics layer, so they are not able to interoperate between their systems, right? If you have to interoperate, you have to have a supply chain semantics. It's not even a nice to have, it is a must have, right? You have to have supply chain semantics capabilities if you want to claim that I can interoperate between supply chains.
And without the semantic layer, we lose the color of the data. We lose the insights on the data. And I think many supply chain leaders don't understand that. And they try to be simplistic, looking at, one throat to choke with one system and, focus on integration. But that's just not real world, because, we found out that suppliers are fragile, logistics is a constraint, and we've got to be able to interoperate with multiple parties. So when you're thinking about the Supply Chain Insights Global Summit, this is your second year for coming, and we look forward to having you. Reflect back to last year and, what you learned and what you're excited about and what you'd like to talk to other people about.
So, last year we were, trying to come out of COVID, right? So what was happening at that time was there was a technology shift, like enterprises were willing to listen to new technologies, but they were still not ready, and they were not convinced that adaptive technologies, can really help them, right? Help their new, alternate ideas in procurement, alternate ideas in fulfillment, or just purely, people talk about end-to-end visibility and orchestration. We know more than 90% of the companies don't have the end-to-end visibility or orchestration capabilities, right? And now I'm noticing people are ready. People are ready as long as you prove to them that new adaptive technologies can help you look into your data with a different lens, as you always talk about, right? That lens of the context. Then because of that, all of a sudden you have capabilities to solve your problems faster, across your supply chain. Now they are willing to try. And now I see a shift where they are converting disruptions into opportunities, right? Previously, they were afraid about, I have excess inventory. How can I mark it down so that I can dispose it in my outlets and other areas, right? Now, all of a sudden, people are talking about, so what, I have excess. I want to take that opportunity to resell back to my, partners, resell back to my, other collaborators and make more margin. So the end goal is decrease the cost of supply chain or increase my margin, but they're not thinking about doing the same traditional business models, right? They are thinking out of the box. They're thinking drastically different, and they're not afraid because now they have the adaptive technologies to try it in, 4 weeks and 6 weeks, right? That's where the trend is. I and my supply chain people and also my technology people are super excited and also overwhelmed that the world is changing so fast.
Well, and last year you were just getting started, and I think you weren't clear if there was going to be a role and people were going to be open to new approaches. But, when you talk about interoperability and supplier to customers, that's kind of the dream for supply chain leaders. And many times we've talked about it, but can't really deliver the goods. And I encourage everyone to talk to Shan at the Global Summit because he can deliver the goods. Shan, thanks for joining us today in the Global Summit. And I look forward to seeing you in Washington, D.C.
Same here, Lara. Thank you. Thanks for having us. I'm looking forward to see you there and our supply chain leaders as well. Thank you.
Thank you.